The gap in between the language used in a sales prospectus for a legal tech company and the language used in a law firm when it comes to dealing with legal tech couldn't be wider and more full of curse words. According to a 2018 Florida bar survey, 64% of lawyers had no case management system in their firm. 78% had no document management system, and a whopping 92% of trial lawyers surveyed did not use litigation software. In a recent Montana bar survey, lawyers listed out the reasons they were slow to adopt tech in their practices: age, technical prowess, a clear misunderstanding of machine learning versus artificial intelligence. Hint, they're the same. But more than anything, time was mentioned as the greatest barrier holding back lawyers from embracing tech. Time. The original AI. Chopping up the human day into discrete pockets, trackable, accountable. It's maybe our greatest invention, but time is also a buzzkill because it can track how long things are taking. We've been saying tech is going to change the practice of law for the last 30 years. So what makes this latest angel round different? And while the big budget haves all have their technology, why are the have-nots in the average Jane Q law firm still struggling with tech? Is this hinting towards a type of class warfare within the legal community where tech isn't the equalizer for the little law firms, but the end? Or is it the exact opposite, and tech is the extinction meteor, killing the too-big-to-fail dinosaur law firms? That's what we're talking about today on Lawsome. Tech, AI, legal research, and adapting your law firm and its business model for the future. Ready? Let's go.
Lawsome, the podcast for law firms. Powered by ConsultWebs.
Welcome back to Lawsome, the only podcast for law firms that grows when you put it in water. We're here to inform, educate, and entertain the legal community on the latest in legal marketing and law firm development. I am Jake Sanders in Denver. He is Paul Julius in Chicago. Paul, what's your favorite scary movie?
Not a huge movie fan. So I don't know. I think
Me, I'm not a big scary fan.
Really? My favorite scary movie, Smartest Guys in the Room. That one about Enron. Yeah, that's pretty scary.
I mean, for me, you know, the scariest movie that I've seen recently was The Land Before Time. Because those dinosaurs were really happy, and it's pretty shocking when you find out what happened to all of them later.
Yeah. We're not going to ruin it for anyone, but yeah.
Don't ruin the ending.
Definitely a twist that I didn't see coming.
Anyway, let's talk about what's on the show.
On the show today, we talk about bottom-up legal innovation, from solos to the bigs, and then we chat with Thomas Hamilton from Ross Intelligence about legal research, AI, and the law firm of the future. And then we recalibrate our guest parameters with 5 questions we ask everyone.
Pull up a plate. It's the Hot Takes Buffet.
The Hot Take Buffet today is from the Ross Intelligence blog. It's by...
Oh, really? Isn't it? What a coincidence.
Well,
it's funny how that works out.
It's almost like we planned this out.
Sometimes.
Stephen Mabey is the author. The title is Legal Innovation Now, the Small Firm Advantage. I'll give you a little start here, and then we'll provide our hot takes. Lawyers at smaller firms, writes Stephen, are often better able to innovate than they think. You can do it, is what Stephen's saying.
Do it!
But he cites some surveys where businesses were discussing which type of law firm they like to work with in a B2B type capacity. I think procurement. Businesses prefer to work with smaller firms, innovation being one reason that smaller firms can innovate more. And according to the survey, 2/3 mentioned that customer service is just better with the smaller firms. So he's advocating for tech in small firms because of this innovative angle and sort of the ability to pivot and, you know, not like they're not busy, you know, doing other stuff. But yeah, that's the
Just
takeaway. Just waiting to innovate, staring out. Man, I just wish I could innovate more. And the clients are like, "Can we discuss this? Like, I really need to get this, you know, divorce handled." You're like, "Hold on, I need to innovate a little.
Hang on. Hang on here. We got this covered. That's
So
funny. But,
what's your take on it?
So there's a piece in there. I'm not sure if it's completely it's a little tangential to the point he's making with the article, but it says a recent survey entitled Global Trends in Hiring Outside Counsel, which I would have read the actual survey, but the link he put in here is dead and goes to a 404 page.
Damn.
So, dude, seriously, you got to fix that. As an internet marketer, that's it makes me crazy.
And in another note, I had somebody tell us that we had a 404 link on our site. So
good.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
we all have stuff to do. We all have to clean our house.
I mean, there's a lot going on. I'm innovating.
Yeah, I was busy innovating. Sorry. I'll be right back. Innovating.
So, I guess. Look,
but that trend you were talking about, the global trends.
Houses shouldn't throw stones.
I know, but we're just chock full of glass and stones. It's all good. But in this trend, what was this?
Point is what he says is respondents were dissatisfied with larger law firms 19% of the time. For smaller firms, dissatisfaction rate was only 6%. Now, when I'm looking at this, is that means at worst 80% of the time people were satisfied. Right? So what are we trying to address here? You know what I mean?
The other side of the statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how big of a problem, are we talking about? And now, to be fair, a lot of times, they do say, and we talk about this particularly with regards to like intake and stuff like that. Like those little numbers, you can change a couple things and that can convert to real dollars. So I'm not trying to, poke big holes in this or anything, but I'm just, trying to frame this instead of being like 19% of the time. Well, no, I mean, the other way is 80% of the time it's all good. So,
Well, yeah. And so, but you're talking about market opportunity. Like, is there a market for this tech, or is there an ability for small firms to be more
are you gonna how much do you need to spend, how much do you need to dive into this? I guess I'm just trying to get in my head what the actual scope of the problem is,
and that's my take. That's what my take is I think that people have a problem with the scope, and I think this is a great article on Ross Intelligence blog.
Yeah.
It's the same ideas, but he basically what Stephen is saying is small firms and solos, you can be innovative, but that is just the end point. What my hot take is here is that without a tool like Ross that like shows you how innovation can work in a specific area at your practice for a specific problem. If you don't have a tool like that can define it, it's hard to catch the spirit of innovation. And I see everyone, and myself included, on social media talking about mindset and how you need to get a mindset here, abundance mindset, and you need to start thinking broader. But what if without a tool to show you an icon that stands for or something to illustrate what innovation can lead to, then it's just more difficult to grab the mindset and innovate and then lean into the future because you don't know the scope of it. And that's why it's good to hear from Thomas and the people at Ross Intelligence that there's a specific solution and there's a specific application for the technology. And it's innovation for a purpose. I think at ConsultWebs, we talk about design for conversion. You have to be thinking of great ways to make things look, but how are they effective? And that's where Ross is getting at it. And that's it. That's where this is a great mindset article. But Ross is the yardstick that measures this. So anyway, it's an interesting interview. It's inspirational. It's educational, and I think it's going to be pretty revelatory for folks. So we should skip to it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Stay tuned for more goodness from Lawsome after this message.
Tired of being dragged around by Google AdWords or lackluster website designs? Yeah! Are you a lawyer looking for a digital marketing company that you can trust? Yeah! Well, you need ConsultWebs. Yeah! Since 1999, we've driven 1 million leads to our law firm clients. We only work with lawyers, so our designs and marketing campaigns are battle-tested. And since we've started, we've generated hundreds of millions of dollars for our clients, and we haven't even broken a sweat. Go to consultwebs.com to learn more.
And now, a Lawsome interview.
Thomas Hamilton is the Vice President of Strategy and Operations at Ross Intelligence, a legal research platform powered by artificial intelligence. Thomas received law degrees from McGill University, worked as an attorney at one of the world's largest law firms, Denton's. He's worked as a policy analyst. He speaks 3 languages, and now he's on the Lawsome podcast to talk about legal research and machines. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here.
So Paul wrote this at the top. I had an original question, but the first question now is, you guys got $8.7 million in Series A funding?
We did.
How did you pull that off?
Well, I should say, we were really excited and happy and really proud of it. We poured a ton of work into it. I mean, like by 2019 standards, that's almost low, right? So I don't know if you saw, last week. So Clio, another Canadian legal tech company, they raised a $250 million round. Massive, absolutely enormous. And in fact, in Canada, which obviously is a smaller venture, capital scene, but still a really big VC scene, big legal tech scene, it was the largest single raise in 19 years. So that says something when that's a legal tech company doing it.
And Jack Newton is on the Ross board of directors?
That's correct. Yeah. So Jack's been great. He's been a big supporter and sort of ally for a long time. And a few months back, officially joined the board. I would also say that I think Clio, in a lot of ways, is a company we look up to. Clio is a company that has done a wonderful job selling into a similar market as the market we mainly sell into, which is now sort of the small and mid-sized firm market. And a lot of folks across a blunt force keyword match. Josh Lennon, I run ideas past him all the time. Really, the whole team there is fantastic and really, really helpful.
Let's speak specifically about Ross. You guys, Ross Intelligence. So give us a little origin story around that, and what makes you guys different from legal research solutions like the Westlaw or the LexisNexis of the world.
Yeah, sure thing. So, at the end of the day, we started like a lot of tech companies do in this day and age, where we identified a problem that, we didn't just identify a problem. We were experiencing a problem in our own professional lives. We were kind of frustrated with it. We rolled our sleeves up and sort of set to task to fix it. So for us, that was legal research. In terms of the origin story, I'm going to give this sort of 60-second like movie trailer origin story here. So we came out of University of Toronto. We were an artificial intelligence research project. This was about 4.5, 5 years ago. University of Toronto has, for the last sort of 10, 15 years, housed many of the leading thinkers in the AI space. And then beyond that, a couple of key universities in Canada overall have. So a lot of what they were researching was theoretical. And then recently, with the arrival of big data and sufficient computational power, those theories could start having practical and ultimately commercial applications. So there's an AI research project that started by IBM Watson that basically invited a number of the best computer science faculties in the US and then included University of Toronto because that AI pedigree to propose ideas of what they would do with the Watson supercomputer. So we said, look, legal research is fundamentally broken. There's many different issues with it when it comes to accuracy, efficiency, effectiveness. We're going to fix that using something known as natural language processing. So the original founding team was 2 AI researchers. One, Parglez, who'd worked on a miniature version of Watson in Brazil, and the other, Jimo, who actually is working on self-driving cars at the University of Texas, Austin, felt that was sort of already too established and kind of mainstream, which is a funny sentence to say. Did his research and felt like natural language search and law was going to be the next big AI move. And then Andrew Arruda, who's our CEO, who was an attorney at a small firm in his neighborhood. They really ran the gamut, a lot of different practice areas. So he was experiencing legal research in terms of often just the fact that you had to do 5 hours legal research up front would price a client totally out. I was at Denton's at the time, so world's largest law firm, massive, but was actually there as it was going through a series of mergers. So when I joined, it was a large firm, and then it became an extremely large firm, and then it became the world's largest firm. So I saw a firm struggling with a lot of sort of challenges in their business model and trying to rethink it in a lot of innovative ways. One of the ways I experienced it the most directly was legal research. So I'd be working for these massive clients. They have huge budgets, but even those clients, Fortune 500 clients, would refuse to pay for legal research, but we still had to do it, and we still had to do it well, and often under very short timelines. So that was the aha moment. From there, things accelerated very quickly. I ended up introducing some folks at Denton's to our company. Denton's then came on as one of our first clients, but also one of our first investors, which was a major historical moment 5 years ago for Big Law to sort of open up the wallet and invest. And then from there, it was off to the races.
So when you're saying that you saw a lot of barriers, beside it kind of jacking the billing rate up, legal research that's the meat. That's and the potatoes and the silverware and maybe some of the utensils and the plate. What are the barriers that you see? I mean, beside it just being cumbersome, what are the problems that you were setting out to solve in specific to legal research?
So our theory was, if we could do one thing extremely well in the legal research workflow and then expand from there, we could redefine how legal research occurs. So our goal was from day one to prove, using natural language processing, you can have a system where you type in a question as if you're speaking to another attorney. So I'll give you an example. Can I declare personal bankruptcy if my common law spouse has declared corporate bankruptcy in the last 2 years in Indiana? So really just posing the question like you're talking to another lawyer, hit enter, and then get very on-point answers immediately from case law. In a common law system like the United States, case law, i.e. judge-made law, essentially interprets statutes and legislations and explains, I don't want to say in lay English, but in sort of lay English, how the law works. So that was always our goal. And we knew as attorneys ourselves that software didn't exist. We knew some companies had played around with that earlier, sort of 2010, 2011, but the tech just wasn't there. And we knew that if we started out with that one simple singular focus and built a machine learning company solely around that from the ground up, we could build an incredible platform.
Here's my other problem. Westlaw, why does it suck? Why does LexisNexis suck? Just go for it. Just I'm unleashing you, because I see a lot of people complaining, but I never got into that because it's way over the garden wall for me.
Let me explain it like a day in my life as an attorney. And this will resonate immediately with I think some of your listeners, some that do less legal research. This context will help. So Westlaw and Lexis, what they do extremely well is they're publishing companies, right? So they have a phenomenal catalog of articles, books, even sort of like backup materials drafted by attorneys that they employ full time. They do a wonderful job explaining the law if you're not able to find answers from the law directly. What we've done is we've created a system where you just ask your question, a complicated legal question, and you get an answer directly from the law itself. We cut the humans totally out of the equation, and that's where machine learning comes in. So we've created a system where you can ask a question like that example I gave you. When can I declare personal bankruptcy? My common law spouse has da-da-da-da-da. It can be a question our system has never, ever seen before. No one has ever written a book on. But if a judge has ever discussed that concept, anyone in the United States, it's going to take you directly to the language the judge used. We're able to do that because our system understands synonymous analogous reasoning. So you're not doing So let me give you an example from the tech world. Think about doing online search on Yahoo, which was a huge company and did a lot of great things well. The core search, like typing something in the search bar in Yahoo, it was painful. You weren't going to get good results. But what did Yahoo have? Yahoo had a team of people. I think they were literally called Yahooers, and they would categorize stuff, right? And some of that still exists. Like Yahoo Finance is really good. Mm-hmm. People use Yahoo Sports for like their fantasy pools.
True. Yeah.
But Yahoo used to literally categorize the entire internet. And that's what you went to. You didn't go to the search bar. You went for their nav bars on the right and left-hand side. When Google came out, what they proved, and people thought they were crazy when they first said it, is they said, we're not even going to try and fight Yahoo on that stuff. Yahoo does a great job. They have a huge head start. We're never going to beat them. What we are going to do, and using, web crawling on their end, was what if you could just type your question in? And that revolutionized things. It took time. It was sort of a re-education piece. But now you go to Google before you go to Yahoo. So that is very similar to what we're doing. We're cutting out all the curation. And we're saying, what if you could just type your question in and have the law itself answer it instead of having to read through a textbook, written by the leading professor on bankruptcy law, who's an expert? Absolutely. But it's an entire textbook you have to read through. What if you type in one question, 30 seconds later, you have the exact answer from the Supreme Court?
Man, I bet that feels like a high colonic for a lot of people. They're like, oh, thank God. Oh, oh, you just freed up, seriously, almost weeks, a year.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because one of the most rewarding things in doing it, initially it was, I don't want to say it's a revenge fantasy, but it feels really good to be fixing a problem that you felt that acutely, right? Because it's so hard to get good, fast answers to your clients. So you've literally experienced it if you've done legal research. You're at the firm all weekend, or you're working till 2 a.m. trying to find these answers, and they're just not, they're out there, but you can't get them. So that was really rewarding at first. But I think what's even cooler is now the testimonials we get, especially from folks at smaller firms where they don't have an army of junior associates to help them. Like when I started with my firm, just in the Toronto office, they hired 17 of us at the same time. So you could always staff us up on whatever task. But what's really cool is to hear from folks, who've used it, who trialed it. It's totally free to trial, takes about 30 seconds to sign up, who've used it. And they've said, literally, I'd spend hours and hours on whatever else they use. I typed a question in, I found something incredible in, 1 minute. And it led to me winning the case. It led to me, I was about to lose this client and now they love me. It meant that whatever, heck, I could make it up to the cabin for the weekend. I didn't have to cancel whatever plans I had with my partner. So there's a lot of intangible benefits that come from it. But like I said, our goal, and we knew it as lawyers ourselves, is if we can do this one thing extremely well, there's going to be so many sort of benefits that occur organically from it.
So I have a friend who's a lawyer, and we've discussed document management, research. For him, because he's a smaller firm, there's a certain barrier to entry here for him, because it's kind of a catch-22. In order to go after some of those bigger cases, you have to have some kind of research system in place, but it's expensive, and it's difficult for him to justify, kind of the ongoing fees that a lot of these things are associated with. And I think Ross actually has some really great options here that he needs to hear about. But to kind of go into this, adoption versus reality here, according to the Florida Bar, 64% of lawyers say they don't have a case management program, and 78% say there's no central document management system at their firms. Just like my friend. But to date, there's $1 billion flowing into legal tech. So, where is this? What are your thoughts here, and how does Ross see themselves kind of in this fight to get in there and get into these firms as a solution?
So to me, there's a few things. I think that, so the numbers, and Bob Ambrogi, I think yesterday posted the investment to date in legal tech, and something through the roof, right? It was like 1.2 billion or something in 2019. I think that generally speaking, in tech, in any vertical, investment numbers they're a lagging indicator, right? So the fact that there's tons of investment flowing in now is a really good sign. It points to a really healthy ecosystem. But the reason there's that level of essentially deal heat is because investors have seen the companies have been around for a few years and seen their success, and now are opening their wallets like crazy, because they're remembering, oh God, there was that time, I met with those 3 kids in hoodies, back in 2014, 2013, they had a legal tech idea, and I said, get out of here. Legal tech, that's never going to take off. But now, oh my God, Clio just raised that huge round, right? Or Kira just raised that monster round. So now the VC community is taking a serious look at it. But like I said, it's a lagging indicator. So it points at the health of the ecosystem, but I think it also points to like what's already kind of happened, which is good. Now, what has happened? Well, what you've seen is the emergence of kind of a new wave of legal tech companies that, generally speaking, create tools that are affordable enough and easy to use enough that a small firm can bring them on. So cost, like just, dollar values per month or per year, is part of that. But the other part of it is it doesn't take hours and hours to create. You don't have to upload a whole bunch of data that you've had to scrub beforehand to make sure it's all tagged and sorted and categorized the right way. It's really the emergence of almost like the Apple-esque design, where you buy the software and it's ready to go. Like within 60 seconds, you're already using it and benefiting from it. Now, the thing is, currently in this day and age, even with the best AI engineers in the world, the legal tech applications that are out there that are plug and play are more suited to certain tasks. And that's one of the reasons we focused on legal research. Document management, or its big law version, which is knowledge management, it's very tricky to make a plug and play solution for that because every firm handles its data in different ways. So you have to make it uniform and tidy before AI can properly focus on it. Why we focus on legal research, and there's other examples in other spaces, like I think what Smith.ai does is really cool in the receptionist service angle, is we always aim to create a tool that is very powerful. And obviously under the hood, there's a lot of extremely complex algorithms at play. But it's really something that someone can use almost without knowing it's AI, because the results should speak for themselves, right? So it's something you just sign up for, you use it, and you say, wow, oh my God, these answers are so on point and so helpful relative to what I already know, which is some of the other tools that are out there. And I think that's part of that new wave of legal tech tools. What you'll notice is we make it completely free to trial, right? Like there's no strings attached. Once you're using it, there's no hidden fees or anything. It's like what Netflix did, right? You're so confident in the tool and what it can do for you that you just make it really easy to sign up and just start using. And that's going to really continue. The document management piece is more complicated, but that'll come as well.
Here's my question. People don't even use Microsoft Word right.
Yeah, myself included.
Yeah, hey, me too. Me too. No, great point, though. Not everybody's playing Dungeons and Dragons. Not everybody's ready to get their hands in and code a robot that can deliver like snacks to the office. There's only like a couple small percentage of people at law firms that are willing to embrace this. I heard Jack Newton talk with Bob Ambrogi, and he said, Bob was like, where's the money going? And Jack was like, well, we're just, going to go client side, make the client experience better. He's like, yeah, but what are you spending it on? And he kept on saying clients, like we want the client experience to be great. There is such a high abandonment rate for apps. Even the most addictive apps like Candy Crush, there's people that only visit it 1 in 4 times. And the part about the legal tech thing is if 64% don't have case management, 78% don't have document management, 92% have no litigation software. I'm wondering if people have that ability. Like it could be the most streamlined tech in the world, but it still doesn't mean that they're going to use it. It feels like a little like it's unconnected to reality in some kind of way. I mean, how do you fight against that? Because I mean, there's people out here who can't parallel park their car. Like
also myself included.
Me too. I mean, and we're learning a lot about each other, Thomas. So let's speak on that. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, okay. So the quick answer is your tech has to be so good and so easy to use that someone that is only half interested will have an aha moment. Now, the devil's in the details on that. But really that is the test. Is your tech so good, but also so easy to use that someone can, in very little time, who is not even that excited to really try it out, get the aha moment of, oh my God, I get what this is doing. Can you take someone who's been on Yahoo for years, give them Google, and have them just wow, like the lights just go on in their eyes? Mm-hmm. Now, with any technology, there's an adoption curve. So there's going to be the early adopters, and you go more into the middle, and so you get the fast followers into the middle, and then there's some people that are just late to adopt any technology. And you have to be strategic about which groups you engage with. Like there's a friend in my friend group that loves that he still uses a flip phone. It makes him very happy. He still uses a flip phone, not interested in smartphones at all. I don't know if, an Apple sales rep wants to spend a lot of time convincing him to buy an iPhone 11. It's just probably not, a useful way to spend their time. Right. But that's natural, and that's in any space. I think for legal tech adoption, there's three things that get in the way. The first is really kind of just momentum. So lawyers are often creatures of habit for good reason. A lawyer is supposed to be sort of the most prudent person in the room. Their clients go to them because they're prudent, they're cautious, they assess all the risks. So you do have to overcome some momentum in terms of introducing new technology. That flows into the second issue, which is client expectation. Clients are not used to lawyers being able to give really quick, timely advice. They're not necessarily used to lawyers being on the cutting edge of technology. They're used to their lawyer being very smart. They're used to their lawyer giving excellent counsel, but less on the tech side. The third piece, but this is where it's changing, is education. So historically, lawyers don't come from tech background, right? I think in my class, I studied business. I think there was one other guy. There's 180 of us. One other guy, Nick. He had a business degree. Everyone else had an arts background. History, philosophy, political science, that kind of thing. And then you go into law school, and historically law schools don't teach you a ton about technology either. So as a result, you graduate and you're expected to A, know how to run a business, but you have no business training, and B, use technology to do so. Mm-hmm. So in that reality, fighting those issues of momentum, client expectations, and the lack of education, your tool has to be fantastic. And it needs to be not just great, but someone has to be able to understand it right away. So it can't be Microsoft Word where there's these incredibly powerful features, but I couldn't tell you how to use 2% of Microsoft Word. Right. But it is great, right? I talk to friends that are in that space, and it is really powerful. It can't be that. The bar is very high. The tech has to be really powerful, really easy to use, and you have to just make it totally freely available. You have to say, you can sign up and try this no matter what, free trial, no questions asked. Where does that change? It's A, educating, so getting into the hands of law students and law professors so they understand how easy it is to use. And it's B, moving lawyers' expectations away from the idea of this is really complicated, this is like Silicon Valley back in the 90s, I have to learn how to code, I have to be able to write JavaScript. Mm-hmm. That stuff, it's not the world we live in anymore. It used to be the case. It's not anymore. I would say almost if you're a lawyer, whether you're at a big law firm, a small law firm, Department of Justice, pro bono clinic, whatever it is, if you were writing lines of code yourself, I would say probably, to be honest, you want to look at it the same way as if the developer you pay was trying to write their own contracts. It doesn't make a ton of sense. There's other people that are great at coding, but the beauty here is legal tech in 2019 should be so easy to use. You don't have to know anything about writing code to use it and benefit from it.
Moving forward, that's where we are now, 2019. But AI, machine learning. I mean, it's working into law firms now, and it's definitely going to have a place in the future. Or will it? If you had a time machine and could travel into the future, what would the law firm of the future look like to you?
So, actually, I was listening to on your podcast where you're interviewing Keith Shannon, and he was sort of talking about how the role of paralegals is changing. He said, I think the example he used was either a dentist's office or a doctor's office. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's probably pretty accurate in terms of what a law firm is going to look like in the future. So let's go way back 100 years, right? If you went to see a doctor in 1919, I think it was a lot like going to see a sole practitioner in 2019. So the doctor probably didn't, maybe they had a receptionist, but they didn't really have medical assistants. And the doctor certainly went to a medical school and highly educated, very intelligent. They had their own small supply of medical information, probably had a few books. But the doctor was expected to be able to do everything. right? They could do the initial sort of patient intake, they could diagnose, they could, I don't know, prescribe medications like a pharmacist does now. Maybe they even did surgery on you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happened over time, and it's a function of many different forces that led us to this. But basically, now we understand that doctors should be able to do the things doctors are great at, that they're the best at. But there's a whole other team around a doctor. So in a general practitioner's office, that's the case. And if you want to like extrapolate that, think of a huge hospital, right? You have a CEO of that hospital who probably was never a doctor. You probably have a chief operating officer. You have a chief information officer. None of these people have a medical degree. They're highly educated, but they don't have a medical degree. You have receptionists. You have many different experts in terms of providing primary care. And then you also have paramedics. And they're the ones that go out and get the person who needs the help, right? And at some point, a doctor comes in and plays a critical role. But there's actually a lot of things that doctor, even though they have a lot of education and training, they're not as good at. Like a paramedic that deals with, I have no idea, like first responder to an automotive incident every single day is going to be better at that than a doctor is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Mm. So just as that's evolved, and dentistry has also followed suit, where when you go to see a dentist now, as opposed to 100 years ago, the dentist is there, but as long as you're brushing your teeth and you're flossing and using mouthwash, the dentist kind of shows up at the end. They say, this works. Okay, let me see the x-rays. You're good to go. Everyone else you're dealing with, highly specialized, more affordable, and does a better job. And actually, it allows the dentist's office to be more profitable as well. So I think law firms are going to go that way. AI tech is a big part of that and always will be, because what artificial intelligence generally does, and you've seen this across a lot of other industries, is it levels the playing field. So going back to that example of when I was hired as a summer associate at my law firm, there was 16 other people like me. We all started at the same time. And we were kind of like a buffer for no matter what happened with client stuff, the firm always had capacity. They could just throw us at it, right? With AI tech, and that's once again, that's why we focus on legal research, because legal research so often spikes your workload. You're going to have AI tools that allow even small law firms to run much more efficiently, but also just more like a professional business organization, just like a dentist's office, just like a doctor's office.
One quick question. When you said Ross brings up the information that cites the case law directly from judges, not from the publishing industry, the lawyer would still have to have some onboard knowledge of what they were seeing was applicable to the case they were working on. So it doesn't give you the answer. It provides you options. Is that sort of what it is? I mean, it isn't like you still have to use your judicial kind of thought, and you have to divine the information. Am I out of turn there, or?
No, that's exactly right. And that's I think that speaks to how the business model is going to evolve. So just like you need a highly trained doctor to do some of the more complex tasks, you need a lawyer to engage their trained mind in terms of the philosophy of the law and understanding how is the judge interacting philosophically with the law. What you don't need an attorney to do is spend 8 hours brute force trying to keyword match, dog bite, same paragraph as landlord, same paragraph as, I don't know, late rent. And then just pulling up 200 cases, reading them start to finish and hoping it matches your client case. Now, if in 60 seconds you find great cases that answer, what is a landlord's responsibility with respect to a dog bite, to a tenant that has lapsed on payment and is therefore no longer considered a tenant under the Residential Tenancies Act of Denver, whatever it might be, then you can spend those 8 hours doing that deep dive, that philosophical engagement, like with the law and what it means. And that's what lawyers increasingly will be able to do, which at the end of the day is ultimately what a lot of us went to law school to be able to do. That's the fun stuff. That's the interesting stuff.
Here's my final question. One piece of advice you could give the lawyer on the street. She's struggling in ways that we all know. In legal research, what's the one piece of advice, besides buy Ross, What's your one piece of advice for, the lawyer that's struggling with legal research?
Something we hear a lot when we're talking to A, our clients, B, folks that are just trying out the technology, is how the issues that come up with legal research are often linked to your business model, and how rethinking that business model or reassessing it can really help you with legal research. So, simple example, the first area of law we started in a couple of years ago is bankruptcy law. Therefore, our earliest clients were bankruptcy attorneys. And something that we heard that was very interesting is often they would move from a bill by the hour model to a fixed fee model. And what that allows you to do, as long as you're good at understanding your average client's needs, is you can kind of spread the cost for legal research across all your clients. So instead of saying, hey, if this is complicated, I'm going to charge you $300 an hour for 10 hours of research, versus if your matter is really simple, I'm going to charge you for 1 hour. You just say, whatever, hey, you're filing personal bankruptcy. I get it. I talk to people in your situation all the time. It's going to be $1,500. Flat out, keep it simple. By doing that, A, you make yourself way more approachable to your clients. B, it makes you a bit more accountable internally to doing a better job on stuff like legal research. So you're no longer going to spin your wheels for 10 hours at a time. You're going to say, look, my firm brings in $1,500 off this matter. If I'm spending 20 hours figuring out how the legal research works for it, well, then that probably means I have to reassess my tools. On the flip, if you're charging $1,500, you found your legal research processes are really tight, they're really on point, you're earning a healthy margin, well, then that lets you know that actually legal research maybe isn't a major pain point for you, and maybe you should focus on something else that's causing issues. You know what I mean? Maybe biz dev is a problem and you will need to bring more clients in. But I think taking that hard look on where legal research fits into your business model kind of holistically is a great initial starting point, especially for small and mid-sized firms.
People want to learn more about Ross Intelligence. They want to learn more about you, Thomas. Where can they find where can they find you online?
Okay, so we make it really, really simple. Anyone who's interested, please go online, sign up for free, and trial it for 14 days. Just go to rossintelligence.com, rossintelligence.com, and then you're going to get there. On the top right, you're going to see a blue button that says sign up for free. Jump in there, try it out. We have a dedicated customer support team as well that's there to answer any questions. You can book demos with them as well. They'll give you personalized one-on-one demos if you want. We have a raft of former attorneys on the team that work with our engineers and our product team as well that are there to answer more complex questions, that would love your feedback. But it all starts with that trial. So go to rossintelligence.com, click on sign up for free, enter your info. It's like signing up for Netflix, but you don't even have to put in a credit card, and you're off to the races. If you want to follow us more in detail, we're very active on Twitter. So my Twitter handle it's a fun one, TJ Hammy. So TJ HAMMY, and our company Twitter handle is Ross Intel, ROSSINTEL. We put out a lot of content on there, including a lot of blogs you'll also see on our website. But like I said, jump online, rossintelligence.com, sign up for that trial. This was all built by lawyers for lawyers. Let us know what you think. All our product roadmap is based off of the features we get asked for. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, this week, we're going to be launching group discounts. We heard again and again from our clients that are at either they're sole practitioners or at small firms that they know large firms get discounts because they buy a lot of seats. They feel left out, which is understandable. So now what you're going to be able to do is if I'm at a firm and, Paul, you're at your own firm, we can both sign up together and get a group discount. Really sort of makes it even easier for smaller firms to try it out. One last time, rossintelligence.com, sign up for free. Let us know what you think.
5 questions we ask everyone.
What was the last book you read?
The last book I read was Always Outnumbered, Always Outgunned, which was by, let me look him up. It was a fantastic book. It is a series of short stories by Walter Mosley. Came out, I think, in the mid-90s. And I guess social commentary. It's about an ex-convict who's been in jail for many, many years. He, committed a horrible crime. And he's struggling with rehabilitation in the second half of his life in South Central Los Angeles, in LA. So it's sort of a period piece as well, sort of a commentary in that time. That's on the fiction side. And then on the work-related side, I'm actually reading a ton of stuff by Guy Kawasaki, who was one of the first evangelists at Apple. So one of the early hires, knew folks like Steve Jobs, and in many ways kind of like pioneered the original model of how do you get folks excited about tech that haven't heard about it before? Because that's what Apple had to do with personal computing. So having a lot of fun reading that stuff and sort of just like learning by osmosis through a lot of his lessons.
Number 2, what's your favorite place?
My favorite place, I would say, is probably Montreal. So I went to law school there. I grew up a couple hours from there. And Montreal is sort of this magical place for Canadians that are from Ontario, because it is, it's not as big as Toronto. Toronto's the biggest English-speaking city. Montreal is the biggest French-speaking city. And it's this incredible mix. It's a little bit like New Orleans in that you have this deep French cultural influence. But if everyone in New Orleans spoke French, like all the time. So I love it. The food is fantastic. The French restaurants are incredible. And the nicest apartment I've ever lived in my life was as a student in Montreal, because the rent is like a quarter of the price of San Francisco. So Montreal is my favorite place. I also realized I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud because I don't want people to ruin it by all going there. But now that I've done it and the cat's out of the bag, Montreal, I love that city.
Yeah. Number 3, what sites, blogs, newsletters, or podcasts do you regularly check in with?
I would say a lot of my news, like right off the bat, every morning, probably off of Twitter. That's like my morning routine over a coffee. I'm a huge fan of Bob Ambrosi's site. In terms of podcasts, and so I'm actually getting really involved in podcasts right now because we're actually playing around with, sort of doing a little bit of advertising to get the message out. So what have I been listening to recently? Adriana Linares' new solo, I think is really, really great. I mean, all the stuff the Legal Talk Network puts out is great and also very, very varied, which is cool. I think they do a wonderful job sort of curating different stuff.
Yeah.
I think NPR has cool stuff as well. But yeah, I'm a pretty broad listener to different stuff on podcasts generally, I would say.
Number 4, if you were stranded on a desert island and could only pick one condiment to take with you, what would it be?
Mustard.
Boom.
What?
Throw them on the mustard. Throw them on the mustard pile. But now,
mustard.
there's
What
okay.
type?
So that was the follow-up question.
Oh, what did he say? What did he say?
Yellow mustard. Not
Straight
Dijon,
yellow.
not Hardy Stone Ground.
Straight Frenches.
Sriracha. Yeah, man. He's a purist. Number 5.
Yeah.
After a long day or a long week at work, how do you relax and unwind?
So on the weekends, you know what I actually did this weekend, which was like a very Silicon Valley thing, is I went with a friend of mine who works in the policy group at Uber to a farm, basically, but not that much of a farm. It's like a cottage with like a really nice orchard, about 2 hours from San Francisco. So it's near Santa Cruz, up in the hills, and picked fruit. And it is a couple he's good friends with. One works at Uber, the other is an AI researcher at OpenAI, which is like a major sort of AI player.
Nice.
And I think it's one of those things of the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So you're working in high tech all the time, and you're working around law, which is a very detail-oriented space. And then every chance I can get, I just try and get out to the country. And then the Bay Area is not bad for that. You can get to decent hiking. And I think that's a Canadian in me, like hiking, camping, just something to really rest that part of your brain a little bit, rest the noodle, and then come back on Monday ready to get back into the deep dive. I think it's really important. And I also think that it's something that as lawyers, we really need, because it's such rigorous knowledge work and we're not always great at doing. And that goes back to law school, where you're always trying to get that 4.0. You're always trying to get to read that last case summary or whatever it is. And it's a good problem to have, but I think lawyers are like really sometimes kind of bad at relaxing. So that's something that I try, and very lawyerly thing to say, I try and take it seriously to relax sometimes, because it is important. It really is.
For show notes, links, and info, go to thelawsonpodcast.com or follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Be sure to leave us a review and rating in iTunes or wherever you find the you listen to. Until next week, stay lawson.